Welcome to the KinderPage podcast from Toronto. Today is Sunday, October 12, 2025, discussing how to create a stress-free morning routine for kids.
Oh, the stress-free morning, the dream, right? Because if you're listening, you've probably lived that nightmare, that 8:15 a.m. frantic search for a matching glove.
Or the homework that suddenly appears, needing glue right now, or realizing the car is basically an ice block and you've got like 6 minutes before the school bell rings.
Yeah, that classic morning scramble, it feels universal. But here in Canada, well, those school start times, usually between 8:00 and 9:00 a.m., they feel even tighter with our unique weather logistics.
Totally. Just getting everyone bundled up and calm can feel like a massive achievement, especially if you're staring down proper -30 Winnipeg morning, or maybe just a miserable Vancouver drizzle.
It really is a challenge. And before we dive into how to actually conquer that chaos, we need to include our standard note here. This podcast is based on research, so listeners should always verify details for themselves.
Right. But our mission today, it's clear. We want to help you transform that chaotic school morning into something actually genuinely stress-free, a confident start for everyone. We're talking about building systems, not just wishful thinking.
Okay, let's get into it, because here's the big secret, maybe not so secret, but foundational. A smooth morning. It pretty much entirely depends on what you do the night before.
Yes, that evening prep. It's the ultimate time saver, obviously, but I think more importantly, it's the ultimate stress reducer.
Exactly. It's not just about saving, 3 minutes finding socks. It's about reducing that cognitive load, that mental energy drain.
Right. Every single decision you can push to the evening, what to wear, what's for lunch, is one less thing you have to figure out when you're half awake and trying to wrangle tiny humans who might not be cooperating.
Mm-hmm. And we're talking basic logistics here, but tailored for our, well, sometimes extreme seasons. So essential evening tasks, laying out the weather-appropriate clothes.
And that means really checking. Like if it's January and the forecast is brutal, you're laying out snow pants, maybe 2 pairs of mitts, the neck warmer, the whole deal.
The whole kit. And prepping the lunchbox, definitely the night before. Because if you wait till morning, you're suddenly discovering there's no bread, or the only fruit left is that questionable-looking apple.
Been there. Organizing the backpack is key too. Checking for homework, making sure the library book is in there, finding that permission slip that materialized out of thin air.
And crucially, checking the weather forecast.
Yeah.
You absolutely have to. Here, the weather dictates your entire gear strategy for the morning, plus how much buffer time you need for travel.
Doing that planning ahead, it just eliminates so much of that morning friction. And that friction, let's be honest, that's often what leads to the yelling, right?
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a psychological payoff here, too, which is fascinating. When the house wakes up and things are sort of organized, there's less immediate stress. Kids absorb that calmer energy. They feel more secure because things are predictable. It's about emotional readiness, not just physical stuff.
So if the kid knows exactly where their boots are, their backpack is ready, they know what they're wearing, maybe they put up less of a fight about leaving their warm bed to face the cold.
That's the idea.
Mm-hmm.
It reduces that resistance to the transition. And that just sets a much more positive tone for their whole school day.
Okay, that makes total sense. So the night before prep is the goal. But let's look at the reality. Why do so many of us struggle with this? We need to figure out where the chaos is actually coming from before we can fix it.
Right. You need an honest assessment first. We actually suggest tracking your current routine for maybe a week. Seriously, note down the actual wake-up times.
Yeah, like how long does it really take for your 4-year-old to get dressed versus how long you think it takes?
Exactly. And how long does putting on 2 layers of mittens actually take? And track the specific things that cause delays. What are your personal pain points?
Are you always doing the last-minute hunt for the library book? Or the misplaced hockey shin pad?
If you track those little delays, you start to see patterns. And maybe you'll feel less alone in it. Statistics Canada data actually shows that 54% of Canadian families with kids under 12 experience daily morning stress.
Wow, over half.
Over half. So more than half of us are starting the day feeling rushed, maybe a bit defeated, before 9 a.m. even hits.
Well, that 54% doesn't really surprise me when you think about the specific challenges here. It's not just finding a pair of socks. It's finding the right kind of socks, plus snow pants, plus hat, plus neck warmer for maybe 3 different kids.
Oh, yeah. And the extra equipment shuffle, the hockey bag that barely fits in the car, the figure skates, the tuba case.
The tuba, and then there's breakfast. Trying to get something nutritious into them that they'll actually eat, knowing they need that fuel, especially on cold days.
Because if they don't eat well, everything can just unravel later at school. And that final hurdle.
The transition.
Yeah, getting them from the cozy house into a freezing cold car or out to wait for the bus, that takes time. It takes patience. And if you're dealing with a meltdown and a stuck zipper, game over, you're late.
So the point of tracking all this, the so what, is that understanding when and why things go off the rails lets you stop guessing.
Exactly. You stop seeing the chaos as like a personal failing and start seeing it as a system that needs tweaking. You move from constantly putting out fires to actually having things run smoothly.
Okay, let's talk about the payoff then, because getting this right, building that consistent structure, the benefits are huge, aren't they? It's not just about being on time.
Not at all. Health Canada research actually links consistent routines to better emotional regulation in kids. When their day has a predictable flow, their anxiety levels tend to drop.
That makes sense. Structure equals security for them. Those daily transitions like, okay, breakfast is done, now it's teeth brushing, now it's backpack time, when that's predictable. They maybe don't need to push back as much to feel some control.
Right. And this is especially important during stressful times or even just during those long, dark winter months we have.
And it loops back to the evening routine again, doesn't it? Sleep. The CDC points out how crucial sufficient sleep is for cognitive function, for learning. If the bedtime routine is a mess, the morning is already handicapped.
Totally linked. Which is why we need more than just tips. We need a roadmap. And this is where something like a visual routine chart or a checklist really comes into its own. Customized for your family and definitely customized for our Canadian climate.
Yes, that roadmap, that checklist, it must include checking the weather and picking seasonal clothes as daily items. That's just non-negotiable here, probably from October right through to May some years.
Definitely. Okay, let's break down that checklist idea by age, because what works for a little one is totally different for an older kid. For the young ones, say 3 to 6. Keep it super simple, very visual.
Pictures, right, like a picture of a toothbrush, then a bowl of cereal, then clothes.
Exactly. Parents obviously need to choose the actual weather-appropriate clothes at this stage, but you can make getting dressed a bit more fun. Use a timer. Can you get your snowsuit zipped before the buzzer goes?
Oh, good idea. Practice those tricky zippers and snaps when you're not stressed and rushing, not when you hear the bus coming down the street.
Right. Then for elementary kids, maybe 7 and up, you're aiming for more independence. They can start checking a simple weather app or just looking out the window to help choose their layers.
Maybe they can make their own simple breakfast, like toast or pouring cereal. Pack their own lunch snacks.
Yeah, absolutely. And they should be responsible for double-checking their backpack, grabbing their own sports gear or instrument. It teaches them that ownership, that responsibility.
Okay, that transition to independence, that's where things can get tricky again. So let's talk about the pitfalls. What should we absolutely not do, especially with our extra Canadian layers of complexity?
Number one killer of a smooth morning: digital distractions, screens, iPads, TV, phones. Burning that getting ready time. It just leads to delays and resistance.
And a 5-minute screen delay feels way worse when it means 5 extra minutes freezing outside waiting for the car to warm up, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The stakes are higher in winter. Okay, second pitfall: skipping a decent breakfast or just offering sugary junk. Kids need proper fuel here, especially for cold weather and running around at recess. A crash mid-morning affects everything.
Makes sense. What's number 3?
Don't try to overload the morning. Keep the routine streamlined. Trying to squeeze in like a complex craft project or demanding a major bedroom cleanup right before school, you're just asking for stress.
Yeah, getting dressed for winter takes long enough already, right?
Exactly. You don't need extra complications. And the fourth pitfall, and this one's crucial: neglecting your own needs as the parent.
Oh, yeah. Self-care.
Even just 5 minutes of quiet coffee before the chaos starts. You need to model calmness. If you're running on empty, trying to manage 3 kids in snowsuits with patience, it's basically impossible.
True. Okay, and we need to acknowledge that routines aren't one size fits all. What about kids who need a bit more support, like kids with ADHD?
Right. For kids with ADHD, that structure is even more vital. Visual charts are great, breaking down tasks like put on snow pants, put on boots, zip coat into really small, clear steps. Timers are fantastic for transitions that external cue helps focus.
And what about working parents, especially those with super early starts, like in healthcare or maybe driving trucks?
For them, that extensive evening prep we talked about, it's absolutely non-negotiable. And building in extra buffer time for winter travel is key. Just assume the roads will be bad or the car will need 10 extra minutes to defrost. Plan for the worst-case scenario.
Good advice. And families with multiple kids, different ages.
The easiest hack there is often staggering wake-up times, if possible. Give the older kid maybe 15 minutes of quiet before the little one gets up, and then. Older siblings can actually help younger ones, especially with tricky things like mitten clips or boot buckles. Teaches cooperation too.
So putting this all together for the long haul, consistency is the goal, right? But we also need flexibility.
Exactly. Consistency builds the habit, makes it automatic. But you have to be flexible for those uniquely Canadian things. The surprise snow day, the extreme cold warning where bundling up just takes way longer.
And it takes time for a new routine to stick, doesn't it? Like 21 to 30 days.
Yeah, around that. So be patient with yourself and the kids. But the really crucial thing to remember is that the routine must evolve. What works for your toddler in July won't work for that same child as a 7-year-old starting school in February. You have to adapt as they grow and as the seasons change.
So this whole deep dive, it really wasn't just about getting out the door on time, was it?
Not at all. It's about fostering independence in our kids, reducing that daily friction and anxiety for the whole family, and building habits that make everyone feel more capable and calm.
And sometimes, let's be real, getting that perfect schedule humming, especially with early work starts, might need a bit of outside help.
That's true. And that's where planning for all possibilities comes in. KinderPage helps connect families with licensed childcare providers across Canada who get it. They understand early schedules and the realities of getting kids ready during our intense winters.
So the final takeaway. Getting everyone ready and out the door doesn't have to be a daily battle, even when it's 40 below with the wind chill. That thoughtful, season-aware planning, that's your blueprint for success.
It really is. It's how we empower our kids and ourselves to start the day better.